Vision, seeing with our eyes the people and the things around us, our reality. In a mirror, seeing ourselves and where we have come from, our past. Through the Hubble telescope, seeing 12 billion light years away, unimaginable. For the vision impaired, seeing through our other senses. Vision, an ability or imagination to think about or plan the future for the way things might be. Before we discuss Vision 2020 with our lineup of respected and highly motivated guest pharmacists, let's take a moment to explain FIP and the community pharmacy section. FIP, through associations and individual pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists, and representing 3 million practitioners, brings together people committed to improving global health. One of the several interest groups and sections of FIP is the Community Pharmacy Section, CPS. The section seeks to be another touch point for community pharmacists to help them in the delivery of medicines, health products, and services that will improve medicine use and advance patient care. One recent project developed by the section has been Vision 2020, led by Emma Polino of Portugal, a look into the near future of and to highlight the key components in community pharmacy practice. In this video, 10 internationally recognized pharmacists will speak to each of these key components. At the end of the video, we will post a web link to the references and resources associated with each topic as provided by our guests. The Community Pharmacy section sincerely thanks our guests for sharing their time, knowledge, and opinions on the CPS Vision 2020. My name is Warren Meek, President of C7 Consulting, and I am pleased to be the narrator for this video. Our next guest is William Zellmer from the United States, talking with us on ethics and values. Bill, you recently co-chaired an FIP Working Group on pharmacist ethics and professional autonomy. Why did FIP create this working group?
Issues of professionalism, ethics, and autonomy have been a long-standing interest of FIP. This has been reflected for many years in the educational conferences, the annual congresses that FIP puts on. And actually, I think it's a bit more than 50 years ago, the FIP developed an international code of ethics for pharmacists. That's been kept up to date over the years. There's currently a guidance document that FIP has that gives advice to national pharmacist organizations about how to create a code of ethics for pharmacists and the types of provisions that ought to be in these codes. It probably would be useful just to read a couple of sentences from the charge that the FIP gave to the working group. They said, this is coming from FIP leaders, when pharmacists are employed, whether by a pharmacy owner or a healthcare institution, the tension between the professional imperatives of the practitioner and the financial interests of the owner or institution may compromise the professional service provided to patients.
Thanks, Bill, for that. Did the FIP Working Group address any issues of particular importance to community pharmacists?
Well, yes, I think this is really embedded throughout the final report that the working group issued. One of the things we did, Warren, was sort of look very broadly at all of the ethical issues that face community pharmacy areas of practice and categorize those challenges, those ethical challenges, those issues. And I might just mention the 4 categories that we put those issues in, and I think you can readily see application to community pharmacy. One of the categories were the ethical challenges that originate from individual or personal considerations, where there might be a conflict, for example, between the pharmacist's personal values and what the patient is asking for, and the professional obligations that the pharmacist has to help the patient. Another category of challenges relate to economic considerations. Just to give one example of this, a manufacturer might provide financial incentives to foster the use of a particular project, or product, I should say, and that might conflict with what the pharmacist feels is really in the best interest of the patient. Another category of ethical challenges deals with human interactions. There may be a power differential sometimes, particularly between physicians and pharmacists. Also, issues that might come up relate to bullying or harassment in the workplace, so that would be all fall within this third category. And then finally, the framework or system of practice. There may be laws or regulations affecting pharmacy practice that sometimes interfere, again, with the pharmacist doing what he or she believes is best for the patient. So many, relationships to community pharmacy practice in what the working group did. In our report, we stick to sort of a high-level discussion of the fundamental issues rather than dealing with a lot of case examples because, as you say, these are quite familiar to pharmacists around the world.
For sure. Bill, then how does the issue of professional autonomy relate to pharmacist ethics?
Well, Warren, that's a very important question, and we probably should start with a definition of professional autonomy. And again, I'm looking at our report and would like to just recite one-sentence definition that we used. Professional autonomy, the right and privilege granted by a governmental authority to a class of professionals and to each licensed individual within the profession to exercise independent, expert judgment within a legally defined scope of practice to provide services in the best interest of the patient. And one of the things that the working group did was outline 3 or 4 different ways from different perspectives why this issue is so important. We identified ways in which an appropriate level of professional autonomy for the pharmacist is important to society at large, to individual patients, to individual clients, to the profession, and to the individual pharmacist practitioner. So we've tried to outline that in our report and heighten perhaps the awareness among pharmacists about this relationship between professional autonomy and ethical obligations. This is a profession-wide issue. It's a global issue, and really it's an issue among all of the health professions. So clearly there's a role for associations, maybe pharmacy associations collaborating with some other healthcare organizations to jointly address these issues. We think it's very important to encourage discussion of issues of ethical challenges, professional autonomy, and the moral courage that often is required for a pharmacist to behave appropriately. And this kind of discussion can occur through some of the venues that pharmacy associations have. Their conferences, committee work, publications, that type of thing. We sometimes need reinforcement as individual practitioners to face up to these issues, to sort of bolster our courage to act appropriately, responsibly in the patient's best interest. Pharmacy education certainly has a big role to play here, making sure that students are taught appropriately about the ethical obligations, what it means to be a professional person, and the responsibilities that go along with that. Many countries have developed an oath of a pharmacist. An oath, a promise that pharmacy graduates, for example, make upon entering the profession to always serve the best interests of the patients. And in some countries, it's common at national meetings of professional associations and societies for pharmacists to repeat this promise, to reinforce their commitment to really be a professional person when they entered pharmacy practice.
Excellent commentary, Bill. Thanks for that. Based on the report of the FIP Working Group mentioned earlier, what should be pharmacy's action plan with respect to pharmacist ethics and professional autonomy?
It's probably maybe just important as a concluding comment to observe that pharmacy practice around the world, whether it's community practice or hospital or other types of institutional practice, is increasingly becoming corporatized. Pharmacists are finding themselves increasingly practicing in sort of bureaucratic environments. So it's realistic to expect that there's going to be an increase in ethical challenges in pharmacy practice in the future. So that reinforces the importance of this issue. I'm very happy that FIP has given the attention that it has to the issue of ethics and professional autonomy. And I hope that many professional associations and societies in pharmacy around the world will pick up on this and work it into their program.
Thanks, Bill, for this. Nice slingshot, Blue Man.